Thank you for joining us for today's conversation. My name is Rodney Dawson, and I'm the Curator of Education at the Greensboro History Museum, located in Greensboro, North Carolina. I will also serve as the co-moderator for our Divine Nine webinar. Today's conversation, in part, has been made possible by the Greensboro History Museum, the Libraries Department, and the City of Greensboro. While our intent for this program will be to discuss, educate, and elaborate on how our Black Greek letter organizations align with Juneteenth components as it relates to unity, honoring our foundations, and moving beyond self-ideology, plus mapping a better future, any views, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this program do not necessarily represent those of the Greensboro History Museum, the Libraries Department, and the City of Greensboro. Today, I am joined by Dr. Michelle Vance. Dr. Vance, an assistant professor at North Carolina A&T State University. In addition to working in education as an instructor, Dr. Vance is a proud member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and she's also a co-chair of the Social Action Committee. So without further ado, I will ask Dr. Vance to introduce our panelists composed of various chapter leaders from our local Divine Nine organizations. Dr. Vance.
Thank you, Rodney. I'd also like to add that Rodney is a proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. I want to welcome our panelists to our discussion this evening. The panelists that we have tonight are Ms. Simone Langley, former president of Beta Iota Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Ms. Cynthia Stubbs, president of Beta Nu Zeta chapter of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Ms. Tammie Pinchback, president of Delta Sigma Sigma Greensboro Alumni chapter of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. Dr. Jason Caldwell, Director of Educational Activities, Kappa Lambda Chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Mr. Jonathan Shannon, President of the Greensboro Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Mr. Eric Ely, Vice President of Tau Omega Chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, and Mr. Richard Bryson, President of Gamma Beta Sigma Chapter of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. I do want to welcome you all this evening to our Divine Nine panel. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and I would like to pose the first question to Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated and Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I'd like to start with Ms. Stubbs from Zeta. How do you feel that your organization represents going beyond the concepts of self-centered ideology within the African American community?
Good evening, everyone. I would like to first say thank you for the invitation for tonight's program. And welcome to my fellow Divine Nine members, and greet them, my brothers and sisters. This is a great honor to be a part of this program. To answer that question, I think on the outside looking in, a lot of times society places the Divine Nine organizations and Greek letter organizations into that stereotype of being self-absorbed group of individuals. That's actually a perception I've heard a lot as being a member of my organization for almost 15 years. And that can kind of be upsetting to hear as a member, but just speaking for my organization, and actually all of our organizations are based upon various principles. For Zeta in particular, our principles are scholarship, service, sisterhood, and finer womanhood. So service is a big part of what we do as an organization. So one of the big leading programs and program trends that we have in our organization is called Z-Hope, which is called Zeta's Helping Other People Excel. That focuses on the mind, body, and spirit of the aspects of different people in the population. So we focus on men, women, and youth and seniors when we do a lot of programs in the community. And also as a chapter, we do focus on mentoring young ladies through our scholarship program. Most importantly, our debutante program that we do within the years that we've been a chapter. We've done 66 years worth of debutante programming, which really focuses on mentoring and giving those young ladies those opportunities to experience different things in society that they may not experience in their local community. So to me, the self-absorbed perception is kind of something that I know as organizations we try to debunk and try to promote our organizations to be more than what people may perceive as self-absorbed, but we really do reach out to the community as best and as most as we can.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Dr. Caldwell, do you need me to repeat the question?
No, I think I'm good. And
Okay.
again, I just want to echo the welcome to all of the fellow Divine Nine members that are present today. And to those that are watching, it is certainly an honor to be here, and we thank you all for the invitation. I think, you know, as we look at this question, particularly from an ideological standpoint for Alpha, in particular for our mission statement, I think speaks volumes to the question. You know, our mission statement says that we develop leaders, we promote brotherhood and academic excellence, and we do this while providing service and advocacy for our communities. I think that speaks to the holistic nature of removing ourselves from this self-centered ideology to understanding that our premise, as for all of our organizations, has been how can we help the greater community beyond ourselves? And I think for us, our founders had a ultimate desire for all of the members of our fraternity to really be products of their community and to engage in their community. Especially now, we find ourselves at a very crucial and I think important time in our history where there's a very dominant ideology that is surfacing. We are finding, you know, what we thought was sort of a passive approach to how we deal with people has now resurfaced to become, you know, this very dominant Black versus white sort of mentality, this ideology of supremacy versus being submissive. And I think for us, you know, we are built on, in Alpha, being servants of all. And how do we help our greater community being more involved in making sure that the communal nature of who we are as individuals is less about being self-centered and more about how can we help continue to upbuild the Black community. And so, you know, again, I think our mission statement speaks volumes to how do we remove ourselves and that perception that I think as was shared from Ms. Stubbs about, you know, this perception of Greek letter organizations being very self-centered. I think, you know, we can all attest to the fact that our organizations were founded with helping other people. And so, you know, we stand on that premise of providing advocacy and service to our communities.
Thank you, Dr. Caldwell. Yeah, very well said. You know, today you touched on it. We're living in a time where there's a lot of schism, and you have segments of the population, not just African American, but I'm gonna focus on African American, that can feel marginalized, undervalued, underrepresented, and this can take hold inside. And so although we're in these large organizations that are about something bigger than ourselves, you can hold this mindset and just think that you're just not able to do. And as I was researching the different organizations, all of them have one thing in common, that was being service-minded in some way, some type of community relations, which, you know, both of you just illustrated, you know, with your words. So my question, knowing that that's a grand purpose and knowing how an individual can feel with that schism, with that division that's going on, and I want to pose this to Mr. Bryson of Phi Beta Sigma, and also I'm gonna go first to Ms. Pinchback with Sigma Gamma Rho. But the question I'm asking is, knowing that we're service-minded, with the challenges that our community is facing right now, are you having challenges having your members go out and be community aware, to be service-minded and to serve the public? Are you seeing a downside with that? And Ms. Pinchback, can you go first with that? If you, may have to
I
unmute.
echo the sentiments of just being able to participate in this platform because I think it is very important. And with my chapter, I don't think that we have a downsize. I think that we have developed other means to keep ourselves engaged, obviously, because we've had to. It has helped us actually to be more specific with the needs of the community, and especially even within our sisterhood, because we are, founded by 7 school teachers during a time where they were actually facing some of the same things that we're facing right now as it relates to being across the street from the KKK headquarters. So, with our legacy, we hear this all the time. And with our motto of greater service, greater progress, it is imperative that we stay engaged with our communities. So we're finding different ways to get information out there, whether it be platforms like this, social media, just doing different things virtually so that we can keep the community engaged. And even with educating our young ladies, where our affiliates are our rowers, middle school and high school girls, we're constantly giving them things that they can do. We are reaching out to essential workers. So we are just finding other ways, being more innovative, and just finding those community partners that we can link with to stay engaged. So as far as my chapter, no, we are recognizing that, we can't sleep in this time. We still got to be out in the pavement. We still got to use the means of social media. We're sending letters to each other. We're doing everything to keep, that mental health. And so, yeah, our chapters though, we're still getting out there, and you probably will see some stuff. We're asking you guys for some partnerships in that regard. So no, we're still out there.
That's one of our later questions, so I'm gonna remember you said that. But
Okay.
Mr. Bryson, over at Phi Beta Sigma, tell me how you're overcoming the challenges if you have them.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Dawson, and to all my Divine Nine fellow leadership, thank you for allowing me to share the platform with you. We are having to be more creative at Gamma Beta Sigma. With the COVID-19 pandemic going on, it is very difficult to meet together and go out and serve. But my brothers are very creative, so therefore we come together on a Zoom call like this and come together and come up with ideas. Such thing as Sigma Cares. Sigma Cares is a process we use for once a quarter where we go out and bless somebody without even telling them we're going to bless them. So we're going to find people, we're going to find organizations to bless them. Our last organization we blessed was the essential workers for GTA, the bus drivers. We provided food for them for a lunch and said, thank you for what you did. Now we had to do social distancing, but they were very appreciative of us going out there. But also this time, Mr. Dawson, I think it was an opportunity for us to have a call and just talk to each other. Because even though we're Greek, we're not superhuman. We're all going through something, and we find that out through our brothers who are maybe get laid off or get furloughed or something of that nature, where family members may have gotten sick or a best friend gotten sick. This opportunity right now has had us get closer together and live upon the motto of culture for service and service for humanity. And when we say that, we're not saying that for Sigma. Humanity means everybody. So therefore, we are reaching out to everybody who is in need. And the community is looking to us to do that. So we're reaching out to our Sigma Betas, to our sisters, to other organizations to fill the gap, because our community is hurting. And one thing we have found out, one of my brothers told me, is that when somebody is starving or who needs a home, they don't care if you're a Sigma, Alpha, Omega, or Kappa. They need help. So therefore, we're going to bring help. And that's what we're here to do.
Great, thank you for that. It's bringing up some great questions. I'm even thinking about when we come in closing, some things that we can come together. I think that several of you brought up a great point that, we're all here together supporting each other for a greater cause, and letting the community know, what we do. We do things maybe differently, but we have so much in common. And so it's really important that we let the community know who we are and what we do. So my third question, I'd like to start off with asking Ms. Langley from Alpha Kappa Alpha. I'd also like to direct this question to Mr. Shannon from Kappa Alpha Psi, as well as Mr. Ely from Omega Psi Phi. So the question that I want to focus on now is, how can organization like ours, speaking of like North Carolina A&T State University, also the Greensboro History Museum, help make the public at large more aware of who you are and what you are about?
So thank you for that question, and thank you for inviting me to be a part of this session. One thing is, tonight, we need to get the story out. We need to dispel all the myths and all of the things that people think about when they think about sororities. If you look at the African American, the Divine Nine organizations, we continue from the time we are at the collegiate level till the time we get to our resting place. And we continue to serve because service is what we do. We say that's the rent we pay to actually breathe the air that we breathe. So I think continuing to have programs like this, to continue to have roundtable discussions, because not only do some of the younger people not really understand who we are, they know more colors than they know what our core being is. And our core being is reach back, teach back, pull one up. If you made it, there's a lot of people behind you waiting for that stair step to go up behind you. And that is our purpose. And that's the things that we need to think about. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's not about Alpha Kappa Alpha. It's not about Omega Psi Phi. It's about helping our communities get to an equal footing where everybody has a chance to succeed. And we have a program that we working on now in Alpha Kappa Alpha called CAPS, which is the college admission process. And our goal is to go help young people get into college and get the funding they need, because a lot of our students still are first generation college students and their parents don't know, but we've been there and we could be that avenue to help another person succeed and be able to be on a panel like this because they join our organization and service others behind them. So I think if we continue to have panels like this, not just on Juneteenth, but throughout all 12 months of the year, and come to the museum and help people understand why sororities and fraternities in the African American community are very important and the strength that we have in numbers. Thank you.
Ms. Langley, before you move on, Dr. Vance, I think it's important to note that something that pleased my eyes when I read it. Alpha Kappa Alpha just initiated a scholarship fund for the children of George Floyd, and so they made monies available for his young ones when they are college age.
Correct. Thank you for noting that.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, y'all can go ahead. Who next one? Either Omega Psi Phi or Kappa Alpha Psi. You want to take it, Brother Shannon?
Yeah,
Mr. Shannon.
Yes, thank you very much. Again, thank you all for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and to be a part of this panel with such great minds. To answer your question, Kappa Alpha Psi, one of our main objectives is to promote service in the public interest. And with that being said, what you all have already said, I'm basically reiterating, these are the type of things that we need to get out to the public. We are very involved on the campus of North Carolina A&T State University with our undergraduate chapter there, Alpha Nu, and we're very involved in the city and the communities right now. But a lot of things we're doing, we're spreading via social media, our social media platforms, but partnering with you all on things like this is where I think we get the most benefit, coming together as one. Because we're all, as many of you already said, working toward the same cause. So our fraternity and our brothers are very passionate about service. So whatever is presented to us, if it has a leg to stand on, we will pursue it with the passion, with that same passion. And that's why our chapter's got Minister Promise Awards for the past 3 or 4 years for all the service we've done in the communities and the services. And some partnerships, for instance, someone mentioned mental health. That is something that is a national service initiative from our international headquarters. We're looking at, everybody talk about physical health and running and all these other things, but COVID and being in has reminded me how much and how important mental health is. So that's a very big initiative that we have as well. And so we're very open right now to looking at ways to partner on mental health initiatives, doing more programs, as you mentioned, Dr. Vance, on campus, or any campus in the triad where we open it to the public. We have a Learn to Live. We've been doing this for about 7 years now with Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, and that Learn to Live is open to the public. And we talk about specifically, if you're pulled over on a dark night, call 911. You can call 911 if you're scared. Don't just sit there alone. It's things like that that young people don't know, they may not have heard. So what I'm saying is share the knowledge, open up these platforms, communicate more, and we're open to doing these things. So it just has to be communicated and planned. And it's definitely something that we'd be very interested in.
Thank you for that. Mr. Ely, would you like to expand? Unmute, sir.
Thanks a lot for inviting the Omega Psi Phi fraternity to this forum today. I think that as we look at the question that you asked, and Ms. Langley put it very eloquently, this is a great start, and so this is a great opportunity for us to share our long history in the U.S. as a Greek letter organizations. But I think one of the things that we have to look at is a holistic approach about communicating and educating. So we have to figure out how to engage. That allows us to educate, and then everyone has the experience. All of us have great mantras and great mottos and missions. And our mission, one of our core is our 4 cardinal principles: manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. And the first one, manhood, is who we are, but the other 3 are what we do. And those are the things that we have to make sure that not only the African American population, particularly the youth, know that what we do, but we also have to know that let the body at large know that we are about scholarship, we are about helping others, and we are about perseverance and seeing it through. So we're just not sitting back and waiting for things to happen or just partying. And the other big thing is all of us, whether you pledged undergrad or pledged graduate, we have an understanding that we are here to work till we are in the grave, and to serve the community. And that's a huge part of the piece that misses with particularly the white population, because once they participate in undergrad, they're done. So but I've had lots of conversations with those individuals that share that, oh, you're still involved. They have a great bond as they move on in life, but we continue our bond and build our relationships till we depart this earth. I think those are the things. And then lastly, we all have a historic background. Our Alpha brothers here have Martin Luther King, and we have Carter G. Woodson, who started the Black History Week, and then it ultimately became Black History Month. But all of us have a wealth of history, and we need to share that also. But we have some current individuals as well right now too. But more importantly, look back and recognize it where we came from. So the great thing is, we have a wealth of history, wealth of knowledge on this call and panel this evening. So I think, those are the things that we really have to get out to the general public and the African American population to share what we do.
Thank you, Mr. Ely.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Mr. Dawson, I have one more question that I would like to pose to the panel. Dr. Caldwell, we know in America that symbolism matters for both good and ill. What impact do you feel making Juneteenth a national holiday would have on America now?
Good question.
That is an excellent question. I think so. One of the things that we have to consider when we talk about symbols is symbols are a derivative of a cultural expression. And so for us, this symbol of freedom is, I think, becoming a very strong cultural, a cultural device for a lot of African Americans now, more so than ever, just because of everything that is going on. The simple fact that we can walk around and we can drive our own cars, we can go to voting booths, those were byproducts of a movement who fought for freedom. And so we have lived in this season of availability as it comes to freedom, but I think the cultural awareness of it, I think Juneteenth presents that. It is that the moment where we can say there was a deliberative moment of freeing slaves. It took some time after the Emancipation Proclamation, but it finally happened. And there was this day of recognition to say, this is the day when people who look like us were legally free. And so it becomes this cultural appropriation of making sure that we are now reminded of our true freedom, not just in being able to drive our cars and to walk around and not have to worry about whether or not we can walk on the same side as white people because Jim Crow is not prohibiting us from doing that. It is now this sort of recognition to say, we have fought the fight and the fight must go on, but we have this new sense of freedom that I think now our younger generations can see. This is what we fought for hundreds of years ago. This is what our founders of our different organizations lived through years ago to get to the point where we can walk in this freedom. And this day is a reminder, just like July 4th is, of liberation. This is now the Black people's moment of liberation, that we can come together and celebrate our rich history. The one thing America has done has tried to suppress the Black cultural experience. Well, Juneteenth is an opportunity for us to highlight the Black cultural experience, and so that people all across the United States and across the world recognize this is the freedom that they fought for and people fought for across this country. And now we can recognize that, their work was not in vain. And so that's, I think when we look at this Juneteenth, that's how I have started to frame it in my mind, is the work that we have done, that people have done for generations before us, it was not in vain. And we can now finally recognize that we really are free. Now we have to fight to make sure that this freedom is protected at all costs.
Yeah. I want to piggyback on that question. As a former school teacher, I appreciate education. I like being a part of learning. But Ms. Pinchback at Sigma Gamma Rho, your organization was founded by school teachers. What are your thoughts on Juneteenth being incorporated into the curriculum that we teach in our schools?
Thank you. I can only co-sign the words that Dr. Caldwell said. I think that it needs to be a mandate that it is part of our curriculums in our schools, because it will continue to transcend. And especially now, when you're looking at the culture that we're in and the time that we're in and the things that are happening, it is such a reminder that we are free and we do not have to tolerate, we do not have to accept certain behaviors. And it's something that, as when you think about young people, they want something catchy, they want something that it's like, okay, you're reminded during this time of year that we are free and we have the liberties that everyone else has. And so it needs to be taught on a regular basis, especially in schools, obviously in our homes, in our organizations, on our work, in our workplace. But I feel like it definitely needs to be, just like there's, you know, the Penta, the Mint, and all of the coming over and taking over. That should be part of our curriculum as well. So I totally agree. And because, you know, education is key, we perish for lack of knowledge. And if we don't have the knowledge, if we're not educated, then we will continue to do certain things that, you know, are not going to progress our people forward, are not going to progress our organizations, are not going to progress the world forward. So it definitely needs to be something that's taught on a regular basis.
All right, we're coming up on our time. We've got about a minute left, but I do want to open it up for anyone else that wants to chime in on that last question, if you don't mind, Dr. Vance. I think I did see someone wanting to talk.
Brother Dawson, I'm not sure if it's completely on the last question as much as it is. We cannot end this session without stressing the people they need to fill out their census and they need to vote in November, because those are two very important things that's going on right now. And Juneteenth would not be Juneteenth if we did not follow some of the things that our forefathers did to give us the opportunity that we have today. So I would stress, if you have not filled out your census, please do so, because the numbers in Guilford County are not where they need to be. And also in November, do not forget to do your civic duty and vote. Thank you.
Thank you for saying that. It reminds me, you know, like I said, we had Juneteenth programming going on throughout the day. So at 12 o'clock, well, we're having a lunch and learn session hosted by my colleague, Glenn Perkins, and this ties with Juneteenth and is stressing or emphasizing the need to vote.
Mr. Dawson, I want to reiterate real quickly that we don't get amnesia about what's going on in June and July when it comes to November. Well, unfortunately, a lot of people, not only in America, African Americans, but Americans, we tend to forget real quick. And we cannot allow the community to forget the trials and tribulations we're going through right now. We've been going through the last, I'll say, 3 years. And not only on the national level, but we got to vote on the local level. Understand who you're voting for. Understand that you're not only voting for your president, but also your county commissioners, your city council members. Unfortunately, we got to vote for judges too, some judges. So keep everything in the forefront of your mind when we go out here and impact the community, that don't forget that where we're coming from, what we're going through right now. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And anybody else have any closing remarks for us? Everybody really touched on a lot of things. And one thing that I would like to say is, for people that don't know our history, I mean, all of us started somewhere back around 1906, right? And if we think about really the plight of the people, of Black people, of women around the 1900s, you know, and where we are today, and I think that everybody brought this up, and I drive this home. Being members of graduate level chapters of these Greek organizations is a lifelong commitment that we have all said we were going to do. And it's really important that people understand where we come from, why we do, whose torches that we are carrying every single day for the principles that each one of you have highlighted during our forum today. It's like you said, it's not for our colors. It's not to be seen. It's to really make a difference in the communities. And it's really important that we remind our communities, and maybe even some of our members, you know, sometimes just come together a couple of times a year and think about what was happening during 1906, 1908, 1914, 1920, right? All of that, because I think that it's been a long time, but it's not been a long time. And I think we're seeing that there's so many things that are happening now that I could only imagine what our founders would do, you know, and how would they proceed. So I just want to definitely formally thank each and every one of you for leading organizations that are doing great work in the community. And we look forward to coming together more to talk about these issues and to see how we can move forward. Mr. Dawson, I'd like to turn it over to you for closing.
I will close it out. You forgot 1 year, 1911.
1911. I just kind of stopped because at that point, I'm sorry.
All right, all right. But you know, we do need to,
anybody else want to jump in?
But you know, we do need to see more of
1922.
us in the museum. And
1922. Yes.
thank you. Got that. But you know, this has been time well spent, and it's a wonderful discussion. We need to do it more, and perhaps there should be a series on different topics, and we can come together individually, individual organizations, and from time to time do exactly what we're doing now. But I'm glad we got the word out. We furthered the word about the Black Greek Letter organization here in the Triad. So let's do this again soon. It's needed, especially today. But thank you to our wonderful panelists. Again, I appreciate you sacrificing your time and giving us your expertise. Look forward to working with you face to face once COVID-19 is over. Dr. Vance, your wonderful co-moderator, thank you for that. Our producer and summer intern out of NC State, Juniper Nee, who couldn't be with us today, but she helped put all this together. I want to thank her. Thank you to my colleague, Glenn Perkins, and our director at the museum, Carol Hart. And I should mention Juniper Nee as our Craig Head Davidson Scholarship recipient. And so she's earning that scholarship. But thank you to our audience today for listening and spending time with us. And for more information regarding this broadcast and any other historical content, you can please visit our website at greensborohistory.org. That's greensborohistory.org. And you can email me, Rodney Dawson, that's RODNEY.Dawson, DAWSON, at greensboro-nc.gov. But time well spent. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all. It's Juneteenth 2020.